Sat Sri Akal. Dear viewers, you are welcome to my channel and this very special vlog which I have been mulling over for last almost 2 years. It is about exorcising the ghosts of COVID with a motorcycle ride to Spiti, which two of my friends and I undertook because there were many things about COVID which had come to haunt many of us, but especially me, and anything that haunts you needs to be exorcised, gotten rid of. We all know that the year 2019 reshaped our lives in more ways than we can think of. The outbreak of coronavirus pandemic impacted the whole world. I was no exception. The fears of children, wives, siblings, and family catching the dreaded virus were paramount. As the lockdowns happened and the virus spread, one could just sit and hear of family as well as friends catch it. Many did not survive. It was harrowing till one day I tested positive. The infection was so severe that I had to be hospitalized. 12 days of terror later, I came back home by the grace of Vaheguru, cured but not healed. A number of debilitating side effects like type 2 diabetes, etc. They all haunted me, and we had to get rid of this poltergeist. So, what were the fears and challenges? Number one, am I physically too weak to motorcycle for such long distances? Two, will post COVID diabetes hamper motorcycling? Will altitudes cause a problem? Can my mind stay calm on some of the most dangerous roads of Spiti? Can I cope with the anxieties caused by all the above fears? Because the anxieties were a very real thing and they were really, really hampering. I was so scared of everything. What will happen? How will I do it? How will I manage it? And so, this journey is all about how we conquered our fears. And I met up with my friends at Chandi Mandir and off we went towards Spiti. But the joy wasn't very short-lived because near Kufri a thunderstorm caught us unawares and we had to spend 2 hours huddled under the porch of a school. Yet we reached Narkanda and then the stormy weather followed us, but we met some people in the hotel. This family, they really, these are the fan moments when you know you feel good. Next morning was bright and sunny. We left for from Narkanda towards Kalpa. Let's see where this day take us. The ride was wonderful. Many of the ride related anxieties were, you know, kind of leaving me, but we entered the Kinnaur Dwar and we entered Kinnaur. But once again, the storm had brought about a huge landslide at a place called Nugalsari where we had to wait for 4 hours. Anyway, through the rain and slush and landslides, we reached Kalpa. The next day was all rainy, yet we hired a cab and roamed around. But all this was not helping us in any way because the anxiety was growing. Should we continue through this storm? Should we go back? What happens if there are landslides? Once you are already prone to anxiety, you can realize what I was going through. Despite such beautiful scenes, the rain was haunting us, the storm was haunting us, and it was actually creating more anxieties. Instead of being feeling relaxed, I thought I am going deeper into the thing. And at one stage at night, we did think about discontinuing, but the next morning was so bright and beautiful. You know how things change. It was so bright and beautiful that we left. We decided to continue, and we met whole lot of people who were such a lot of encouragement. Perhaps three senior citizens on motorcycles and stuff like that. They were also, they pepped us on and helped us, really helped us get over some of our anxieties, and at least for the time being we were pepped up enough to continue beyond Kalpa. So we just sped down from Kalpa to Rekangpio with those beautiful Kinnar Kailash ranges in the background, totally covered by snow, and moved towards Nako. Now, once we cross below, the rain shadow desert starts, and right across the water divide, you can see the Tethius Himalaya, the oldest Himalayas. They are a part of the Great Himalayan Range, but they are known as Tethius Himalayas because they are all made up of the deposits which were formed at the bottom of the Tethys Sea. And that's the reason you find marine fossils in that range. So, but here you can see those wonderfully snow-clad Kinnar Kailash ranges right in front of me, over the trees, through the trees. And these were some of the sights which really pleased the mind, and were encouraged to move on onto this wonderful Hindustan Tibet road, quite barren. And then we reached this huge waterfall called Kashan Nala, and this blue bridge is the old bridge, and road was only that wide many years ago till they built this strategically important double lane road. After a small brief stopover, we moved towards Nako. Now Nako is a very old village, maybe 1,000-year-old village on the banks of a quarry lake, and most of the people in this area beyond Kashan Nala practice Buddhism. So you have the monasteries and you have their Buddhist iconography. But as we move beyond this, the vegetation decreases and the barren Himalayas are visible. Then Colonel Ratanveer, he flew his drone and made this wonderful movie about Nako, which is an epitome of modernization and ancient houses. All the tourism sparked new buildings and old houses, maybe 1,000-year-old houses, all exist side by side, and this emerald gem of a lake in the middle. We sat by on the banks of the embank on this lake and really enjoyed ourselves. Yes, it was windy at that altitude. After 3 o'clock it does turn windy, but it was such great fun, and some of the fears were getting kind of dispelled. Some doubts that they were being chucked out. Next morning we moved to Gyu, where we have the mummy of Lama, which is 550 years old, and he waits here for reincarnation. And to Beyond Gyu starts the Spiti, and at Khab, river Satluj and river Spiti meet, and we turn left towards Spiti Valley along river Spiti. Now the bottoms of the valley receive irrigation and have many apple orchards till we reached Tabo, the 1100-year-old Buddhist monastery. Here we had the lamas rehearsing their debating power, clapping, shouting, trying to convince each other, memorizing the lessons in their own unique way, which Gelugpa Buddhism teaches them. We had a leisurely stroll through the monastery where they have built a new monastery, but the old monastery, which was built in 900 something AD, still exists. We walked through it. It's all made of mud and wattle. It's an architectural wonder, but changing climate patterns and increased rainfall is creating some kind of problems. The roofs have leaked and they have damaged the frescoes painted on the walls, but now they have ASI has made the roofs waterproof, and they are trying to protect this monastery in its pristine condition, or whatever is left of it. From there, we had already decided to go to Pin Valley and had made reservations in a hotel in Mud, which is the last village, really, of the Pin Valley. Beyond that, you walk over Pin Bhaba Pass to Bhabanagar or towards Kulu, Manikaran. But here, as we were moving, the road became tougher to ride on because it wasn't tarmac anymore beyond a point. It was all gravel, and riding was becoming challenging. We had stopped for a cup of tea where we met some doctors from Pune, and they were another group of people who really encouraged us and made us feel better. And then the road conditions started deteriorating. It was more arid with that turquoise waters of Spiti river flowing down below, and we moved towards Mud. Now, as we progressed, or let me put it that way, as I progressed, as I rode my bike, slowly I realized that, well, I am not. One of the fears was allayed. If you look at this road, it's quite challenging. Here it's flat, but beyond that turn, when it zigzagged and hairpin bent up into the loops, higher and higher along the Pin River, the ride was more challenging. But that is one challenge which was so fulfilling that by the time we had reached Mud, at least I was not scared of being unable to cope with that kind of riding or being too weak to ride that distance. Okay, we didn't ride much every day. We didn't ride more than 4-5 hours every day, irrespective of the distance, because from Tabo to Mud, which is about 60 kilometers, took us 3.5 hours without any stops. The road was in such a wonderful condition, or there's hardly any road, it was just an unmetalled track, and it was sand and gravel. Of course, there were some bridges which were very interesting to cross over, like this bridge on Pen River, but we kept crossing and recrossing the river to reach Mud. But every time as our journey progressed, let us say, slowly the doubts, the fears started getting, dispelled. One thing for sure, look at North. It's at 12,700 feet, absolutely barren, surrounded by snow covered peaks, and we had reached here. I was not having any altitude related problems. I walked for a few kilometers up and down the slopes. Then another fear conquered, the fear of altitude. How will I describe? How will I cope up? I'm not weak. I'm strong enough to take this journey. If I can take this journey, I'm strong enough. So that goes. Low temperatures. By the time it was 6 p.m., the temperature had started dropping, and in the morning, when we woke up the next morning, the maximum minimum thermometer outside the hotel told us that it had been -8 at night. And remember, it is some 11th or 12th of June. So, next morning, after two fears conquered, we started towards Kaza. You can see the condition of the road. It's not the best of the roads. It's at a very high altitude, and look at the slopes. Although in the camera you can't really figure out, but these were very steep climbs and descents. Yet we managed that. And it was not just mechanically managing it, it was also a great achievement as far as I was concerned. It's not that I had never done them. I have been riding my motorcycle since 40 years, and I have been to worst places, but here it was different. And on the way we met this group of people from Bombay, and they had two flat tires, so we helped them repair their tire, and we all drove towards Kaza. Now the beautiful Spiti landscapes slowly started taking the fears away from us, because one was not being anxious, one was not thinking of what might happen, one was rather enjoying the scenery, one was enjoying the beautiful landscapes, one was enjoying the fresh air. And it was like a huge distraction, let me put it that way. This beautiful landscapes, the drive through here, the riding through this, and we reached Kaza. Our homestay owners were wonderful people. They treated us to such fantastic local cuisine in their typical local design houses with thupas and other local foods. It was something else, believe me. And I was totally distracted. All those things which were in my mind never came up to the fore. I was only enjoying my being, and having forgotten what all was happening to me, what all had happened to me. So, again, next morning, after a wonderful sleep, the next morning we went to all those wonderful places around Kaza. The Key Monastery, again some 800-900-year-old monastery, one of the largest monasteries, Key Gompa in Spiti. And there the young lamas were playing football. And after a small tour of the monastery, where we started for Kibber, and then on towards Chicham. This here is the key monastery. It's 11th century monastery with the young novice lamas playing cricket. It was really very nice, and it's built on a promontory on a hill which is overshadowed by those huge mountains. And then we went to Chicham. Chicham is the highest suspension bridge of Asia. It is at an altitude of 13,596 feet, as you can read here. But the best thing is that it's suspended over a gorge which is more than 1,000 meters deep. And the rivulet flows really small, tiny, far, far away. It took a very long time to build this bridge because they have a very small working season, 4 or 5 months. The rest of the year, the whole area is snowbound with temperatures falling well below 0 degree. Again, walking around here, looking at these wonderful things, enjoying them, totally distracted from what we had started with, the fears, the challenges we had started with from. If you look down, you will see how far below is that rivulet. And before this bridge opened, the people of Chicham village had to take a very long detour over Kunjum Pass to reach Kaza. Now it's only a few kilometers after the bridge. From Chicham, we went to Langza. This is also known as the fossil village because a lot of fossils are found here. And the first time I had come to Spiti was in 1983 with a university tour where we had found some fossils of these marine animals. And from Langza, we went to Komik, which it is claimed is the highest village connected by a metal road, and it has the world's highest restaurant. It was very crowded, so we didn't eat there, but we definitely had a look-see, took some pictures. And Komik is perhaps the highest point. We reached at 14,400 something, 15,050 feet. Again, you see that fear of altitude, of AMS, altitude sickness, all of them were dispelled because I was walking around here nicely, going up and down the slopes and making movies and filming and photographing, and everything forgotten. I was so engrossed in everything and the landscape around. Arid, barren mountains covered with snow till we reached Hikkim, the world's highest post office, 14,400 feet. Here we purchased some visiting cards and we wrote them and posted them, and believe me, they did reach. From there, we were supposed to go over Kunjum, but due to heavy snowfall, the pass was closed. So we had to ride back the way we had gone instead of via Manali. Yet the ride had served its purpose. You know, it had really dispelled the fears. It had exorcised the ghosts that were plaguing me. And during the entire this thing, I kept checking my blood sugar and it was always normal. Isn't it wonderful? Now, what was the outcome? Am I physically too weak? I could finish the ride comfortably. Post-COVID, Diabetes did not hamper me. Altitudes did not create a problem. My mind stayed, it not only stayed calm, but I could feel my old self taking charge. I could not only cope with but also conquer all my fear and exorcise the ghosts of COVID. So that is what is important. And it's not, motorcycle is not the panacea. I don't say that anybody who has to conquer the fears or exorcise their ghost go for a ride. No, no. Find your way. Find what will help you exorcise. For me, of course, it was the motorcycle. The ghosts went like ones that hath been stunned and are of senses for long. But for me, a happier and a wiser man, I rose the morrow. So try it. Give it a shot. Thanks for watching. If you have liked my video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have found it helpful, share it. God bless you.